The trailer for the Moana live action movie just dropped, and I noticed something quite interesting happen. Now, immediately it dropped, it expectedly got a shitload of hate because it's Disney, and I'm not saying it doesn't deserve outrage, but the outrage here is for the wrong reasons. Like, the popular reasons for hating on it are so lazy. You have people saying it's too early or it has too much CGI, but I didn't see this outrage for the How to Train Your Dragon live action. It also has a lot of CGI and is still early. I mean, How to Train Your Dragon is just 6 years older than Moana, which isn't some big difference, so it's pretty obvious that this is selective outrage. But I did say it deserves outrage. I think it deserves outrage for the same thing that How to Train Your Dragon did, which is nothing. Nothing to the source material, just a copy and paste. And I know you might say, well, all remakes are essentially copy and paste, but not these ones. This is a very specific case, a shot-for-shot 3D animation to live-action remake. And I know Moana hasn't come out yet, but you can see the same shots in the trailer and the same song that sounds exactly how it did in the original. It's remaking a 3D animated movie, which is rare. So it's safe to assume that this is going to be the same type of live action as How to Train Your Dragon. And How to Train Your Dragon and likely Moana are the extreme cases because it is shot for shot and line for line. Most remakes do not do this actually. They at least adapt the dialogue to fit the format, or change pacing and reimagine and add significant scenes. The How to Train Your Dragon remake is the only remake, besides likely Moana, that is genuinely identical to the original in every way. And it's ironic because people claim to want original content and that they are tired of remakes in general, but the moment a studio copies everything perfectly, suddenly that becomes the right way to do it. By changing nothing and allowing for even less creativity, even The Lion King, which I did not enjoy all that much because of the photorealism of the animals, honestly they were better in Jungle Book, but it's the closest thing to a copy and paste from Disney. But it still changed lines, staging, and tone due to the medium difference of 2D and live action. And that was still more creative than How to Train Your Dragon, because if you remade the live action How to Train Your Dragon as animation again, it will literally be the 2010 movie with basically zero change. You can't say the same for Beauty and the Beast or The Little Mermaid or even Snow White, and it fails to justify its existence as a remake, which is to remake and reimagine it. Like, why should this exist when I can just go watch the 2010 original? Like, even if I didn't like some Disney remakes, I still didn't feel like I wasted my money as much as this. Now, the second issue with this type of remake, besides the fact that it's a direct copy, is that it is a 3D to live action remake, which is like 3D to 3D. Most Disney live action remakes before Moana were 2D to live action, which naturally forces reinterpretation because the mediums are so different. The cinematography, the movement, the lighting, and the realism, they're all different. But 3D to live action does not force reinterpretation as much because they share a lot of similar techniques. Most Disney remakes require a full rewrite of dialogue to allow for some creativity, but How to Train Your Dragon doesn't even adjust its dialogue to fit live action delivery. It just copies and pastes, and this is actually an insult to animation. Even if it's unintentional, they're essentially saying they can repackage a movie in live action and have it make more money than the original. Like, this is the version for people who feel too grown up to watch animation. Like, that was just the draft, and this is the definitive consumer ready version. Look, I know you can try to make the case for any live action remake, but at least those feel like they're different movies, even if they aren't as good. But back to the Moana trailer. I have heard some bad takes about the Moana live action and why people don't like it. And honestly, it doesn't deserve hate other than it being a shot-for-shot cash grab, like How to Train Your Dragon. But let's see what people have to say. The first take is that it has too much CGI. Like, what do these people think the original animated movies were? Those are also CGI. It seems like a double standard. But I guess you can only hate so far unless you have no idea what you're talking about. Did they expect Disney to get a guy who could turn into animals or to create water with their moves? It's so absurd to complain about. Were they supposed to use practical effects? Like, this is such a non-issue, and it's annoying because it dismisses the hard work of CGI and VFX artists, as if their work is some kind of AI magic button. The other criticism is that it's too early, and like, the timing is irrelevant to my point. Let's say this releases 50 years after the original. It's still going to be a copy and paste of the original, and the original will always be around for anyone to watch. And How to Train Your Dragon is only 15 years old, and part 3 is just 6 years old. old, so it's not like it's a forgotten franchise or anything. Let's be honest, people are just picking and choosing, and obviously because it's Disney and everyone hates Disney now. Now, there are other criticisms of remakes in general that aren't really fair, like the people who claim remakes ruin the originals. This is just not a real criticism. Like, sure, the Snow White remake was bad. That literally does not affect the original Snow White. It's still there and it's not gonna disappear. The same goes for the people who say if it changes too much, it will ruin it. It's crazy because most typical live actions add some changes but still remake the same story essentially, and people still get mad at that. Like, what do you expect them to do? Not to justify their existence? Creative risks are part of art. Different directors try different directions, and you may not like it, but that doesn't make it ruined. For instance, I'm not the biggest fan of the 2018 Mowgli Jungle Book movie. I prefer the 2016 version, but I still appreciated the direction they went for, and it didn't ruin anything. It's allowed to be its own thing, and some audiences need to realize that. And I think the reason why these kind of remakes are getting made is because studios don't realize that the people complaining about remakes changing stuff are just a loud minority. General audiences do not care. Remakes that are deemed bad by the internet get relatively good reviews and make a lot of money. The best copy and pasting does is give online and social media credit, but at the cost of every glimpse of creativity. And it's actually annoying that directors can't do their jobs without being pressured to avoid somehow disrespecting the fans, when all they want to do is tell their version of a story that already exists and is free to watch. Like, seriously, if fans just want to watch the originals again, they should just go watch it again like normal people, and stop complaining that Hollywood doesn't create original movies when we literally celebrate the remakes and sequels that are seen as favorable, and we suddenly forget that they're supposed to be slop. Meanwhile, we overlook the actual original stuff, which naturally won't get as much buzz as established IPs, and we leave them to flop and then complain that they don't even exist when we don't even look for them. I might actually need to talk about the disconnect between general audiences and the chronically online movie fans in another video, but that doesn't change the fact that the chronically online fans are hypocrites for the most part. They're always inconsistent with their critiques and always need something to hate on. But back to the point, I fear this style of remakes will have serious implications where creativity isn't even required in filmmaking, and audiences will still go and watch it and love it, and studios will make billions by recycling their old stuff, but this time they don't even have to recycle anything. They just have to repackage it as live action. And the more of this we get, the less creative integrity we have, and the less of me you see in theaters. And I know this might be a hot take, but I don't even think remakes shouldn't exist. But they should at least make it for this generation, who probably won't ever watch the old originals, but will still have their versions of these iconic stories. So I'm definitely not anti-remake. I just don't want to get bored to death by watching a worse version of a movie I've already seen. And that goes for Moana too. And for those who actually liked the How to Train Your Dragon remake, it wasn't bad, it was just unnecessary. It's only good because the 2010 original was good. It has nothing to its own merit. No praise, no criticism, just nothing. And it's better for a movie to try something and fail than for it to not try at all and succeed, at least in my opinion. And I know this is crazy to say, but something as horrendous as Snow White, while not better in any way, was more of a creative endeavor than How to Train Your Dragon. But tell me guys what you think. Am I onto something or am I way off? Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Yeah!